The convenience of online shopping has become more popular. So too are cloned retail websites, phishing scams, and card fraud. Cybersecurity specialists say the festive period creates ideal conditions for online crime, with high transaction volumes, emotional spending, and time pressures.
We are in a stress point. We need to get shopping done. There is a spike with respect to the offers which are placed online in response to the festive season. It's almost a perfect social engineering opportunity. People, they buy faster, they verify less, and they respond to the urgency as such. I think the most common festive exploits that we have cloning websites, we have phishing attempts, we have situations that if we don't have multi-factor authentication enabled, we have card exploitation.
Africa's fast-growing digital economy is increasingly targeted as cyber awareness struggles to keep pace with adoption. As a result, festive shopping habits are creating serious digital vulnerabilities.
It's a perfect storm in the fact that our vulnerability is the result of three factors: rapid digital adoption, high value targets, and a human vulnerability gap. So this can be seen a lot in the digital literacy of an emerging market.
Festive bargain hunting often lowers vigilance, making shoppers easier targets.
I think when it comes to festive season, firstly, we bargain hunt. So we are looking for, huge discounts. It's also a skeleton period as well. So many people don't like actually walking into the shops. So we are utilizing the online platforms to do this. The first warning sign is just to look at the authenticity of the website. Because in most cases, there are certain websites that are cloned.
Consumers are being urged to be patient and check sites carefully before they click.
For example, the urgency test. If you get something that is creating a sense of panic, urgency, extreme excitement, like your account will be suspended in 2 hours, you won a prize. We just need to pause, stop, take a breath. Legitimate organizations will really use such pressure tactics.
With festive spending peaking in the final weeks of the year, experts suggest consumers stay alert and not chase discounts. It may be their strongest defense. Sumitra Nadu, CGTN, Johannesburg.
Let's explore exactly what the landscape is like as far as cybercrime is concerned on the continent. Moyo Mutemwa is a specialist in cybercrime. He's got years of experience in data security and analytics. He's joining us live on the program from Pretoria this evening. Thank you for your time this evening, Mr. Mutemwa, and happy holidays to you too. So let's start with the broad picture here, because online scams, right, they tend to be the most prevalent crime that we see across the continent. But then there's other things beyond that. Business email compromise, ransomware and so on. They're quite widespread. How is this increasingly easier access to video and voice cloning software, among other AI tools, making it easier for people to be scammed?
All right. Good evening to you and your viewers, and happy holidays. Well, the simple answer to that is, as human beings, we are prone to confirmation bias. So that confirmation bias, the way I define it, is we want to see something, we want to be able to hear something, and once we have those two confirmed, we are more likely to accept whatever information that we're consuming as true. Now, cyber criminals have challenges when it comes to creating a scam. So, for example, if they send something, it might not sound right, it might not look right, but AI has basically made it made it possible for them to be able to create scams that look right and that sound right at the same time. And therein lies a challenge when it comes to cloning software and voice and video cloning software related to AI.
How then do we protect ourselves in an environment like that, where the default response might be to not trust what you're seeing and hearing, right? Then how do we protect ourselves online?
All right, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to confirm the source or from where we are consuming the media. Let's say, for example, you get a message that comes onto your phone. You need to confirm, is there other sources that are confirming this information that I have in my hands? So the ways that consumers can actually do that is you can go to Google and you can search on the official websites. Let's say, for example, there is Apple selling a particular discount sort of say, you need to then go to the official website and then confirm if that is the case. If that's not the case, then you need to realize that it's a scam. No matter how good it looks, no matter how pleasant it might be for us to actually get access to whatever is potentially being advertised there, we need to realize we need to go back to the original source that would have advertised that information.
And also just, attention to detail, right? Because in some cases, what scammers will try and do is to direct you to URLs that look very similar to a genuine website, but it's not quite the same. There's an extra letter added, or there's extra characters that have been added to that URL that doesn't make it look right.
Yeah, that's correct. And usually they couple that with the need for urgency. So as consumers, we want to urgently respond to a sort of potential opportunity to get something at a cheaper price. So that agency can make us overlook the small little details that might have been changed in order to confuse us. So it's very important that when we get such information, paying attention to detail is key, but we also need to exercise the element of removing the agency out of our response.
In June, Interpol had an interesting study out. They said, that in most countries here in Africa, law enforcement agencies are, in their words, struggling to enforce existing laws on cybercrime. And at least 3/4 of the countries they surveyed said the legal frameworks and the prosecution capacity needs improvement. You've been in this field for quite a while. What is it that makes it so difficult to prosecute cybercrimes in African jurisdictions?
All right, so one of the first things that we find as a challenging thing is that when you look at the data protection laws, for example, you look at all the 54/55 countries in Africa, only 65% of those countries have a data protection law. Whereas 3 are still drafting those and 16 don't have any law in place. Now, when cyber criminals create a crime against a victim in a country, it's then very difficult to link it to a law that they would have broken. And so what prosecutors are left with is trying to piece the pieces together, put the pieces together in terms of how do we actually prosecute this to ensure that we actually have the correct evidence to prosecute someone, because it's very important that when you go to court, you must have evidence linked to a law that criminals have violated. And so it becomes very difficult from a legal framework perspective to begin the investigation. The other thing is that in countries where there is data protection laws, for example, there is cyber criminal laws and so on, it's either the tools or procedures are outdated, meaning that the collection of evidence, the preservation of evidence, even the analysis of that evidence, you're using tools and procedures and techniques that are very outdated. So there's that gap as well that has a direct impact in terms of how soon law enforcement can actually prosecute crimes. So those are just some of the things that law enforcement faces in terms of challenges when it comes to prosecuting crimes and actually ensuring that conviction is achieved in most courts.
And in some cases, it's also a case of the legal statutes that would need to prosecute a crime like digital sextortion, for example. If you have a scammer who takes someone's photo from Instagram, pastes it onto someone else's video that's essentially explicit content, where do you even start prosecuting a case like that? Under what law, under what statute?
Yeah, exactly. And therein lies the problem, because the person will say, look, there is no law that I can be prosecuted under. And the interesting thing is that when we get to our legal systems within Africa, you find that there is a gap in terms of how to actually introduce cybersecurity or cyber evidence in court, how to determine whether someone is a cyber expert or not. So therein lies a problem where evidence is brought in. We don't know how to present it. We don't know how to analyze it. We don't know how to actually action any legal matters related to that. So there's quite a lot of things that as a continent we can definitely start working on in order to ensure that cyber criminal acts are properly prosecuted.
One last question for you, because I want to end this on a somewhat more positive, action-driven note for our viewers. You've covered some of this before, but what are the top 3 things you'd tell people to be watching out for to do this festive season to ensure they don't lose money or personally identifiable data to scammers?
All right, so the first one is if you didn't enter a competition, you didn't win anything. I think that's very clear. That's always been my stance. Because I think most of the time we see things through sort of something of a competition that we've won. That's the first one. The second one is that we receive a lot of messages, whether it's on WhatsApp or on any other instant messaging app or social media. And immediately we want to share that information with our friends and our relatives or co-workers. So for those who tend to share quickly without verifying information, my second message to them is that they need to verify that information by contacting or verifying on the correct websites the information that they have received before sharing it with people. And the last one is that before you actually take out your credit card or your card to purchase something online, verify with someone else, someone independent, that the information that you're looking at or the website that you're looking at is a credible website. So those are the three things I would advise consumers to do, and also just be safe out there as they continue their festive season purchasing.